It's good to have you always. The energy. I feel like it's going to rub off. I just want to know how to win tournaments, how to win WPTs. I got a day 2 online 5K. I know you're not eligible, which is good for the field because you're in where Nevada right now. You're playing some of the Poker Masters, so you're not going to be playing some of these online schedules right now, right? You're in the U.S. just kind of playing the live stuff.
Yeah, I'll be here about a week or so playing the Poker Masters series and then headed back to New Jersey to play the American WPT event on partypoker.com.
Very cool. And so, yeah, well, first of all, congrats on the signing. You just signed with, I guess it's not to be confused. It is Party Poker, but it's BetMGM / Party Poker US. And maybe explain a little bit about what that is and how that came to fruition.
Yeah, they've brought me on as a brand ambassador to promote the game for the U.S. So this is American-facing online poker and states that have legal online poker. This super exciting for me. I've always looked forward to getting some kind of deal like this, and anything I can do to promote American online poker is important to me because I feel like we've kind of fallen behind a little bit compared to the rest of the world with online poker. So to be able to promote that and build the game here is important.
Yeah, it's cool. And I mean, obviously, as the sort of, I guess you would say poster boy for the World Poker Tour, having 4 championships. I think a couple guys have 3, but you're the only one with 4, I believe. And the record for final tables, cashes, all the good stuff. That's got to feel good to represent and be a part of a major company and in the poker space. As you said, I think you're starting to do some more deals too. You said you got. Could you maybe explain a little bit about what this is and doing some speaking or other engagements? What is this that you got going on here?
Yeah, this is Above the Felt. It's a marketing talent agency which I signed with about 6 months ago, run by Tom Wheaton, who owns Faded Spade. I don't know if you know, they make the cards for the World Poker Tour and some of the other events. And I've always been kind of willing to do stuff like this where I'll go to a casino and meet players or promote an event. I went back to my college maybe 4 or 5 years ago and spoke to students, and I really enjoyed that. I didn't think I would. I thought that was awesome. So I've always been open to these things, but I'm not good at like emailing people, following up, doing meetings. So it's good to have someone like Tom in your corner to kind of like facilitate these deals because I'm open to them. I've just never really pursued stuff like this.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And is that something that if someone wants to get a hold of you or get in touch, that's the best way to go to here or get a hold of Tom and then kind of, what is the scope of that? Like, are you said universities, is it coaching involved or is that different? Like for one-on-one coachings, is this part of that?
No, it's less of a poker coaching thing and more of a speaking and kind of strategy, decision-making, how I approach decisions in poker, how that translates to business or school or life. Things like that. And or if you're a card room or company and would like to bring me in, go through that site and I'll get with you guys.
Very cool. And just speaking about the World Poker Tour and obviously the WSOP coming up, it's been a weird year and a half with COVID, not been a lot of live events. How has that been for you? And what has been different? Because you kind of pride yourself and you are known as sort of like a live pro tournament guy. Have you been playing a little bit more online in Jersey or studying more, enjoying the family? I know you said you have a 10-month-old and now a 4-year-old. So, give me a little bit of a breakdown of the last year and a half. What's been different for you?
Man, a lot's been different. When it first started, I wasn't playing much. I had to kind of make a decision. Am I going to – I hadn't played online a lot since 2013, 14 maybe. And I was either going to be all in and play a ton online or not play at all. I'm kind of extreme in that sense. So last year I actually dove in, played a ton online, did well. And then this year when live tournaments started to come back, I played more of those. But just being at home with your family for so long, it was amazing. And I was talking to my wife about it. I haven't been home longer than a month or 2 in a row since I was 18 years old. So I'm always traveling to this stop, that stop. So to be home with my daughter 9 months in a row with the family was amazing.
That's awesome. And is something with the online though? Is it how do you feel versus back in 2013, 2014? What are some of the biggest sort of differences, changes? There's different software solvers, these type of things people are using. What have you found to be different in the game right now online? Do you find it tougher, easier, just completely different?
Yeah, I would say at the higher stakes, it's gotten a lot tougher, where you really have to be studying and working hard to be able to compete and win. especially in the rest of the world sites. I think people there play really well at the high stakes, and you get a couple action players who will get the events going. But besides that, people are playing really well, and it's tough to win. You got to work hard. Where, I mean, maybe 2013, 14, it was starting to get tougher, but certainly nothing like when I started playing online in college in 2007 or 8. Like it's not like that anymore.
And I mean, give us a little look inside of what you're doing to sharpen your game. Not all the secrets that you got the record. There's no, if you want to do one of your coaching courses at any point, I'm sure you could release it and do that. But until then, you're going to keep building up the lead and the results. What are some things though you like to focus on to improve your game? Are you more with talking with friends and peers? Do you do more kind of solver work, or is it just what is your methodology to sort of staying ahead of everything and being at the top of your game?
I don't have a huge group where I talk hands, and I probably do less solver work than most high stakes players or players who play the tournaments I do. But
that's what everyone says. I had Mateos on yesterday. Bring Kenny. Everyone's just. I think everyone got the. All right, I got hint, hint, wink, wink. Fair enough. No one's working on their game, they say, but everyone's just the best. All right, go ahead. So fair enough. I get it. Go ahead. No,
I'm working a little bit. I'm not gonna act like I'm not working at all, but I do try to focus more on like where players are deviating from solver strategy or what is standard, and which players are taking which spots. Are they under bluffing, over bluffing? I think for me it's really important. The more I play against a player, I think the more I can pick up and the greater my edge can become. Where if I'm kind of going in cold playing against random players, I think my edge is probably pretty small if they're playing well, and it's more of a computer solver game. I'm winning less. Where if I'm playing day in, day out with these guys, I'm kind of starting to pick up on how they play and what spots they're taking. I can make some adjustments maybe quicker than they can and achieve a higher win rate.
And looking back over, I want to go through it's pretty small. Let's try to zoom this in a bit. Some of these wins, we'll look through the World Poker Tour, but then looking at the, just kind of like the Hennen Mob, which you play a variety of stuff. I know you're there. Had a huge score live too. This was at the Hard Rock down there. Did you chop this, or did you play it out?
Yeah, that was a chop. That was actually kind of a funny situation. I got COVID down there, and I didn't know I had it. I was vaxxed, and kind of didn't really. I thought the odds were pretty low that I actually had it. I was pretty sick all week during that thing, and got heads up with Joe, solid player. We were pretty deep, and I'm like, let's chop this thing up. I didn't really have the energy to sit there and grind a high stakes heads up match with a terrible headache.
And so Joe, I think I saw he's either number 1 GPI. I'm not sure if the GPI is kind of funny now because of live stuff in the last year and a half and what's going on. But he is one of the. I mean, he won the main event. He's had ridiculous results. He's also deep in the World Poker Tour a lot. See his name there. He's also in your area, I believe, right? Or you in the same kind of region? He's Pennsylvania, I think, and you're New Jersey. Like, is this someone you've battled a lot with McKeon, and you're pretty familiar with his game?
Yeah, he's a Philly guy, and we've played quite a bit deep in these kind of events. Solid player, I think. Probably similar to me, where he studies less than some of the other high stakes players, but has a great natural understanding of like ICM and pressure, and I think he understands like final table dynamics pretty well, and has had a lot of success. And
is that, so in a spot like that? I mean, you obviously Thomas Boyven also. I've seen him; he's been really great results and really really tough. So I mean, this was David Peters, Joe Jones. So it was a pretty tough final table. What when you came in here? Where were you stack wise, and how did this kind of shake out? I'm just, it's always interesting. These are really, they get great fields there. The 25K, I played a few times, got a couple deep runs, and it's a good, they really seem to get some of the biggest entrants down there. When you play that tournament, do you already make up your mind, like how many rebuys, bullets you're going to do and all that? Or do you just kind of go in and do you have a strategy for the 25Ks and 100Ks, like high stakes, what you do before you start? Like, do you know how many you're going to play or fire? Rebuys?
It kind of depends on the event. This one, I would agree. The 25K in Florida, I think, is one of the best of the year. So this is kind of an unlimited reentry situation for me. Like, I don't think I would ever stop entering. But the final table itself, I think I came in second. Joe was first. But these things, they get pretty shallow, and you can be in second and have 30 big blinds, but seventh or eighth has 20 big blinds. So things can change really quickly. So I think we were first and second most final table, lost a few pots, 5-handed. I was 5 of 5, and then was able to knock out Peters and kind of get to second.
Yeah, this specific one I played twice where I think I got like 8th or 9th, and it was actually I think 4 to 16 big blinds at the final table was between 1 and 8, which was like, it's kind of crazy kind of thing the way at the end. But it's a cool tournament. So big score there, very nice, coming in fresh to Vegas. You're ready for the summer. Are you going to play the full Poker Master schedule here? Are you playing what's the lineup here this week for the 10Ks, 25Ks, and all the schedule?
I think there's 4 or 5 10Ks coming up. There's 2 25s.
It just popped up this second. I think they just added that on your for last. Okay, they put that you did. You said late last night you got 8th, right? You got knocked out. Or 12th. Yeah. So you min cash that, and then what is the what's the biggest one? What's the main event there?
It's 100. I think it starts on the 18th, so I might miss the 100 at the end just because I'm headed back to New Jersey to play the WPT event there. But it goes 10K, 10K. I think there's 5 10Ks, 2 25Ks, a 50, and 100.
Nice. And is that so? Give me a little bit of look into your preparation on that. When you go there, this is different than the main events, the WPTs, where there's so many players, different strategy. When you are focused on these, it's a lot of the same guys every day, 20, 30, 50-person fields. What is your preparation like? How much notes and understanding do you have of the opponents you're playing on and generally there?
I definitely know most of the players in these fields, especially in America, where I've played with these guys, know how they play, know their reputations. But generally, they're solid players. So anytime you're in these high roller fields, I always think of it like you can get away with less. Like you can't get away with some of the plays you can make in a 3K main event or something like that, and you have to play more fundamentally sound because you're not going to be able to take shortcuts and steal chips from these guys because they're too good. So you go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I just remember last time on the first podcast we were talking, I think you were starting to kind of dive more into the higher stakes stuff, or because it is a different game. It's just different. This is like a lot of the same guys. It's bigger money, bigger prizes, but it's also generally tougher. So what is your sort of outlook, and what do you see? Let's just take for the next year, assuming poker's back for live, everything's kind of normal coming up. What is your breakdown? How much are you going to be focusing on these type of Poker Go, Triton type events, or just saying, all right, I'm going to keep crushing these 3,500 WPTs and main events and traveling around? How do you kind of break up that, and how do you weigh those in terms of what you expect for results?
For me, it's more about location. I'll play most of these events if they're in the U.S. and if it fits into my schedule. So the Vegas series, I'll probably play all the 50, the 100, the 250, whatever. But I'm not too keen on traveling to Europe or Russia or something to play these super high roller events, and that doesn't really fit into like how I've had success in poker. And I do enjoy being in America, being in a reasonable time zone, being comfortable, waking up playing. Where coming up in poker, I actually did pretty poorly in Europe when I was younger. And I was always just a mess over there. I'm waking up at 4 or 5 a.m., don't know any of the players, not performing my best. And I've always had issues with that traveling internationally a little bit. So I do like playing in the States, I will say. So I'll play the main events in the States, and I'll play some of these high roller events, but they're not really – I'm not building my schedule around like a super high roller bowl kind of thing. But if it fits in, I'll play.
And I think there is the 300K coming up, and there's some other, like ridiculous buy-ins. And, does that interest you? Is that something goal-wise? Are you like, I want to play the next $1 million they have? Do I want to play the 500s? Like, is this something that you sort of like are salivating for? Or you're just like, I don't know, see how I feel, or maybe sat in, or maybe sell some, or are you just like, can't wait for like the biggest, baddest event going?
I mean, it goes both ways. I do want it. And like from a challenging yourself perspective, and I would love to just travel the world and play all the biggest events and compete against the big players. I would love to do that, but it's just tough too, being a dad and having 2 kids at home. Like, I'd like to play these main events too as well. And I think money wise, probably the main event, WPT, that's more of an appealing structure to me than going to play a tough 300K, having to sell 80% or something and playing against all the best players in the world. I don't love that like business model. And also I don't love, I just got home from this WPT. Now I got to go to Cyprus and play 2 weeks of events. It's tough where I kind of have to pick and choose. And most of the time I choose the more convenient events or the WPT events.
And how is your wife and how is your support system for that? Because, I also have a 2.5-year-old, a little different, and I generally bring my family, but I'm not playing the every day. But the hotel or get Airbnb, this type of stuff, it is tricky, right? I never want to be away more than a few days or 5 days, a week max, maybe from the family. How do you kind of balance with your, that with like just kind of understanding it's your job, and how do you sort of make it all work with your wife and balancing that?
Yeah, it's an interesting like dichotomy where I'm on these poker trips. I'm playing high stakes poker all day, completely focused, doing work. And when I get home, I'm really not doing that much poker work at all, and I'm just focusing on being a dad, being present, being with my family. So it's really like all in one way or the other. And I don't like bringing them with me. It is a distraction. I think even just having them here, knowing what they're doing, where we're going dinner or something like that, where I really like being able to fully commit when I'm on these trips and just, I'm going to play poker from noon to 2 a.m. every day. And that's what I'm here for. And when I get home, that's when I can be a dad and be present. So that's kind of how I handle it. I think when you mix it both ways, it becomes, I've done it. I've brought them to the Bahamas and trips like that. It's a little more challenging for me.
It is, right? Exactly. Because it's not just as simple as like, okay, but it's just like so the second, there is time, you need to kind of meditate or relax. You need to, play your best. Like it's a different experience. If you're like texting, organizing, trying to figure out, meet there. And then in the back of your head, it's like, oh, maybe I'll like take this spot or play a little different and I'll have free time if I go for it. Just sort of, I think convolutes everything. And it's probably not, the GTO way to go about it. But I think it's a constant juggling act. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. Looking back on your successes in the World Poker Tour and versus WSOPs, what's your best WSOP finish in like any event, any of the
I think I got third in the deuce to 7 no limit twice. So that would be my best. Closest I've been to bracelet is third. I've got third twice in the same event, the 10K deuce. And
is that like, how important is it to you to win a bracelet? Like you've got 4 World Poker Tours. I think everyone in poker kind of knows, your way around a poker table, but is there any kind of, is that something that's on your list that you just like, man, I got to cross it off, get the monkey off my back, or just like whatever, it's just, you want to do well?
I'd like to win a bracelet. I'd say it's not super important to me. At this point, it's almost becoming embarrassing because they got $50 turbos and flips and stuff like they're almost giving the bracelets away now. So it's, I think it'll happen if I keep playing, but as they keep adding these smaller events and more of them, it becomes less prestigious and less important to me. But it is still something I'd like to have on my resume, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. It almost all becomes exactly. It's like kind of like you sort of have to have one. Like at some point you're going to be in a room or around and like 3 guys will have them and they, no one's ever heard of them. And
you won the $200 Pennsylvania Turbo for 80 people. Like, well,
I didn't understand. I saw that 3K they gave. So that was for bracelets, huh? That was a real World Series bracelet. The Pennsylvania like closed off Pennsylvania market one.
Yeah, I think my friend Shankar actually won it. It had like 80 people or something.
Yeah, that's right. I saw it. And the payouts were crazy on that, right? Like it was like I forget like 25% or 20% cash, and it was like less than the buy-in and something weird. It seemed a bit off, but
WSOP. I think it's a good illustration of like how much interest there is in the American market for people to play online, where their product, I would say, is not the best, and they don't really listen to players or adjust anything. So being able to work with Party Poker and WPT, some of the premier brands, I think we can do a lot just because there's so much demand in the U.S. for online poker, and it's just getting started.
And what do you see right now as the biggest sort of obstacle for poker to grow? in the U.S. because we've been around. I think you're 2 months younger than me, roughly. So we've been in poker around the same time. We've seen the ups and downs. What do you see as obstacles for it to grow from where we are right now?
In the U.S., I think it's mostly laws and legislation, and it's kind of sad. New Jersey got online poker in I think 2013 or 14, so that was 8 years ago, and we still only have 3 or 4 states, and some of them are segregated. Where I'd really like to see more like impetus to get things moving with the government to get more states, get them linked up. And actually saw Rob Young, party poker guy, announce he's going to make this union and focus on lobbying governments and working for poker. And I think that's amazing. We really need something like that with money behind it to get these, because I think it's all about money in the long run. I'm not deluded that these politicians care about morals or gambling, where I think it's just a money thing, and we need to get the money behind it to get it moving.
Yeah, no, it's great what Rob's doing for sure. He's one of the few people I think that most people know in poker just try to do the right thing and try to go for poker players. So yeah, it's great. I think it is the right direction. It's an uphill battle and it's surprising. I remember Black Friday 2011. I just never imagined like 10 years later that it would be this. You would think that after 2, 3, 4 years, it would be fully regulated, back online, everything would be normal. So it's also the crazy we're still in it, right? Like a lot of guys we know haven't been in poker. So the fact that we're still in and it hasn't sort of found its way and sorted out to be working smoothly is annoying. But I mean, Michigan came on, Pennsylvania came on. So it is promising. I think with COVID and seeing the live stuff close down and also tax dollars and now sports betting at a federal level is legal. All these things are sort of indicators that things are moving a little bit, but it's still slow. And I think until New York or California or one of these sort of top in, then it'll be wide open again. Very cool. Tell me which is your, out of all these runs at the World Poker Tour, which one, winning the first one, I mean, you went back to back, which is kind of crazy, but was there anyone that kind of got away? Like you've had so many, I think people don't realize you have 13 final tables, which is also a record. Was there any that were just like, wow, like you thought you had it for sure. You were the chip leader 3 or 4 handed. I see you have a numerous thirds. I don't think you've lost heads up, right? It's just the reason if you get heads up, you get it done. That's the deal.
I've got third 3 or 4 times. I would say 2 of them I could have played better, and probably two of them I ran awful, where both the TOC, 2017-18, and Jacksonville, I had literally 90% of the chips in play in both of those, and lost all in after all in to lose. So
does the TOC count? Does that count?
No, I don't think that would count as a 5th title because it's invite only. It's only like 80 people.
Right.
And Jacksonville one would have counted, where I had 8 or 9 million of 11 million or something. And that one sticks out, but those don't bother me too much when I play well and lose all ends and whatever. The ones that haunt me more if I make a mistake or don't play well 3 or 4 handed, those are the ones that really stick with me, where if I just run bad, I don't really care.
What's your cutoff in these sort of WPTs where you know what the push folds and you know where you're supposed to call? Like how often are you making, let's say a guy jams like on the button 15, 20 blinds, something in that range, and you have like a spot where you're like, all right, this is like a close call. Like, it's a plus EV call, but like how much do you value sort of that chip preservation? And are you making folds even like where you're just like, wow, I'm like almost for sure flipping, even though I should have the best hand? Like what's your cutoff? And like, maybe give me an example of a sort of insane fold someone might think that you've made where it's just like, you just knew like you didn't want to risk, even like ace king or some spots where you're folding where you just like don't want to flip. Is there any sort of examples or a specific one in a tournament that you could give it as an example? Because you're doing something different, right? You're doing different stuff than people. I'm not asking for the secret sauce. I just want to like maybe try to give like someone an idea, because we saw this actually. Brent Hanks, you might have saw that clip at the Merit where Yo Viral, that guy Johan, he folded his king. And then they were like, this is the worst fold in the history. But there was big ICM, and it always depends what the other what the other stacks are and what's going on, right? Like, but it seems crazy. Maybe give me some example like that where you made a fold where it might not have been when the whole cards were up, right? Because it was before the final table or deep. Give me maybe some examples of like spots where you play tighter than people might think.
Yeah, that idea, I think that in these really soft WPT main event types of things, you want to preserve your stack. And also, people are not usually going all in as wide as they should. So just like fundamentally, you need to adjust and not call as wide. So I think compared to high rollers, I'm playing a lot tighter in those types of spots. I remember a hand from Niagara Falls View. I won, I don't know, it was probably 3-4 years ago, maybe longer. 2 tables left, tight player. Because you get a lot of these like local tight players that it's such a huge spot for them. Like they play $100 tournaments, $300 tournaments. They satellite in. They play 5K a year. This is like such a big spot where some people play really tight. Some people freak out and play loose. But this guy was playing tight, opened big under the gun. We're not super deep, probably like 30 blinds deep. I have ace queen suited on the button. I call. Big blind calls, maybe it's 3-ways on the flop. So I call ace queen suited, tight scared player opens on the gun. Flop is ace 10 3, check, and he's all in for 3 times the pot. And a spot you just don't see very often where guy clearly likes his hand, wants to get all the money in. We have one of the better hands we can have, but in my eyes, I'm just saying, oh, this guy probably has ace king, and I folded. The other guy folded. Never knew what he had, but that's a spot where I guess it's more of a reaction adjustment game because that's not a real play to go all in for 3 times the pot. But you will see weird spots like that in these tournaments, and there is no preparation you can do for that. Where you're not going to run sims on that spot or anything. It's more about the player.
Give me like a blind on blind though. Let's say you're down to 10 or 12, 15 left, and like generally obviously like what hands you use for X amount of blinds. Like is there a cutoff where you're like I'm folding ace 9 or ace 10 for where it's like a clear call, but you're just like, you know what? This is stuff Helmuth talks about, the white magic, some of his stuff where he just like won't call, or he's like makes like extraordinary downs, but he just doesn't want to put his chips at risk. Is there stuff like that where you're like, man, I'm so deep and like I'm going to pick up? It's also probably a function of how tough the tournament's left too. If it's like if you're 10-handed in Choctaw and you're the only guy you recognize, and it's like, all right, yeah, I just don't want to put the chips in the middle without a really strong hand. Versus if you're in a spot where it's you and 5 kind of wizards and you're 10-handed and maybe you have to go for it a little more. How much do you kind of weigh that type of out, or more are you just kind of to the book like, no, this is definitely a call and I'm calling?
I mean, I'd say I'm not to the book, but definitely not on the white magic Helmuth team. I don't want to get lumped in with him where if even in Choctaw, if a guy shoves 15 big blinds on the button, I'm probably not going to fold ace 9 off in the big blind, ace 10. I'm not going to make these magical folds because I do think sometimes there's this like idea of, I'll have a better spot. I can make chips so easily. But in some sense, like, that is the spot. Like you have ace 9 on the button, a guy's shoving a range that is worse. Let's take the spot. Yes, you're not a lock, but folding that, you're giving away chips. And as stacks get shorter, which they do in these things deep, where average stack is 20, 30 big blinds, your spots become less frequent and the edges become smaller. Where we're not playing 100, 200 blinds deep, 2-hour levels where you have all these spots. So you kind of do have to take some of the smaller edges, even versus weaker players. So I do adjust on the tighter side, but definitely not anything like Helmuth or.
Well, that's part of the problem. Because if you fold that for 15 and you're like, say you're 5-6 handed, you hit a couple spots, and the next thing you know, you're down to like 9 blinds and you're shoving ace 5 off. And you're just like, that guy just has, whatever, 6s, and you're just out, or you double and you're still basically where you were. Like this is, I think this is part of the art of tournament poker, and really understanding too that those top scores are so huge, right? Like to get 12th, like that's something that I've struggled with in my career, and looking back on a lot of spots too. It's like, you'd much rather have the 1, 2, 3s and a lot of like 18 or 15s than like, 8 through 12 all day long, right? There's just the money's so top heavy as well. So I think that's it's hard. You gotta be willing. Amir Vahidi, one of the best quotes was like, in order to live, you must be willing to die in terms of poker. And I think
Absolutely.
that's very powerful. And you just don't want to be in the habit of being down to like 5-10 blinds and trying to.
It's tough to win the tournament that way, and there's a ton of value in having the chip lead like down the stretch. All these ICM spots, like if you watch the high rollers, somebody like Ali, where so willing to die, so aggressive, always pushing, and he gets all these wins because he has the chip lead from 2 tables down because he's willing to take these spots and willing to pressure people, and that's important. Like, sometimes you're sitting there with 12 big blinds, you're surviving, you're going to win the tournament sometimes, make hands, ladder, double up, but that's a much tougher ask than having the chip lead and putting people all in, and they have to fold because of the pay jumps. That's a much easier path to victory.
For sure. And how do you deal with? I think one of the notes I was reading from the past too, we had spoken. You take time off, usually a day, a week off, and sometimes if you're not running well or don't feel like things are going amazing, maybe even more. What are some methods you deal with when you're going on a downswing and or just like things don't seem to be going well for whatever reason? You don't like what's happening. What are some of your tricks to sort of reset?
I will. I'll take some time off, and sometimes I'll also like switch arenas, kind of where if I'm doing really poorly online, I'll try to play more live, or if I'm stuck in a live rut, I'll go play online, and I'll do the same thing where I'm winning. If I'm doing well in a certain arena, I'll keep playing because sometimes there's things that are working for you that are beyond your grasp that you don't understand, but they're happening in that arena, and you don't understand until later. One example I think of is when I first started playing in Europe, I was losing a ton, and I didn't really understand why. I didn't think the players were playing better in the States or whatever. But looking back on it, and now that I'm more self-aware, whatever, in tune with what was going on, I wasn't doing as well because I didn't know any of the players I was playing against. Everyone was a random to me. And when I would play in the States, these WPTs, I kind of have some idea of who this person is. Are they local? Are they a pro? What's their average buy-in? Is this a big tournament for them? Are they going to bluff me? And that gives me a much bigger edge than playing against I see a 20-year-old European pro. I don't know if he's a NIT. I don't know if this is a big tournament for him. I know nothing about the kid. So it was a much easier time in the States, and I kind of didn't realize that at the time, but now looking back, it's pretty clear to me.
And do you see yourself though later on? Is that something when your kids get a little older, like during summer, vacations, or like I love seeing guys that are sort of, their kids are just in college and they're on the tour and they're firing around, like they're in there and you can tell they're having the time of their life. They got some money now, they're older and they're just in there and they're going to these spots and they're having wine, hanging out and firing. Do you see that? Or do you where do you see yourself when, 15 or say 20 years from now? Like, it's hard to tell, but do you see yourself playing poker for sort of ever at some level?
Man, 15, 20 years is a long way away. It's tough to even think about. I will say, I don't think you're going to find me like drinking wine, splashing around. Like if I'm playing poker when I'm 20 years, I'd be 50, 55. It's going to be more like a Seidel thing where I'm still trying to compete and be the best and win. I don't think I'm ever going to be in as a casual fun player or something where I think if I lose my passion for the game and I'm not enjoying it anymore, I would just quit. Or if I ever thought I couldn't compete like at the higher levels, I think I would be more likely to quit than kind of get in there and dick around.
You're never going to be the splashy fun guy. That's not
not my MO.
All right, I like it. That's good. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And what did you ever think like 10 years ago? Would you ever imagine when you were playing that there would be 100Ks and $1 million buy-ins? I mean, it seems like kind of such a crazy concept that's just happened. And it's getting, Kerry Katz, these Paul Foy and these guys, Triton, like it's just, they're putting these on like, like it's nothing. Like they're just like, it's amazing, the economy, the poker economy, and crypto helps. And, it's just interesting, but like these things are really jamming. I mean, there's like, it's, I couldn't believe I stopped in Cyprus for a few days, and it was there, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, next thing you know, it's already here. You are playing the Poker Masters, and they have 10K series. Just like, you know, the 10Ks are almost like warm ups. Like the 10Ks aren't even big. And back in the day, like 10K was the highlight event for a season for the World Poker Tour. Where could it go from here? Are you shocked at this, or do you think this is like, are you used to it now?
I mean, I guess I'm used to it or desensitized to it a little bit, but I don't know if it's inflation or, I mean, the crypto stuff definitely has some influence. I was at a table yesterday. I was probably the oldest one there, and these kids are talking about penguins and NFTs, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? It's a new age, and there's definitely 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I'm playing online. I'm playing a big Sunday. I might lose 5 or 10,000 playing the highest stakes. Like that would be a really bad Sunday. Where
Right.
last year when I was playing rest of the world online stuff, I could be in for 250,000, 300,000 on a Sunday. Just baffling like amounts that you can actually get in. And I think a lot of it is the unlimited reentry, where back in the day we played more freeze outs, and you couldn't fire bullets 20 big blinds, 15 big blinds. But it can only go up from here, I guess. I mean, as long as these high roller events keep getting entries and getting some recs in there, I think this will continue. If it's whenever it gets to the point where these things have like 10, 15 people and they're not starting, that's a different story. But it looks really healthy right now, the ecosystem. And I was talking to Kerry. He's got more stuff lined up for next year, first quarter, Super High Roller Bowl coming up, he said. So I think it's healthy right now.
Yeah, it does. It seems like it's really moving, and it is a wild time, but it's just really, it's surprising. You know, like you said, looking back on it, it's just really hard to imagine. I mean, the £1 million is just so silly, and that, you know, from there, who knows what would happen if COVID hadn't happened? It might be £1 million rebuy, it might be £2 million. I mean, it's just like I actually think I think the next best thing that could happen for these high rollers would be to add like the knockout component, because then like money stays in and recycles a bit. It's more gambling. It's fast. It's probably more fun for viewers, right? People are like, because people are going to start playing spewier because they should, based on the math. Like you see these KOs. I mean, if you look online right now, like a majority of these tournaments are knockouts.
Yeah,
it keeps money in the ecosystem. It's fast. It's more loose. It's a little more gambly. And I think, like, you know, imagine like a 100K knockout where every knockout's 25K. Like, you're going to get more runners. Like, guys are going to be like, yeah, like, all right, like I might get half my buy-in back or 3/4 my buy-in back, or, you know, whatever. I guess maybe some players wouldn't love it as much because then it's like the payouts. But what are your thoughts on that, on knockouts? Like, would you, if there was a 100K knockout on the schedule, like, would you find that more or less appealing right now for like at the Poker Go, for example, this series?
I'm pretty indifferent as a pro, but I think you're right that a lot of players like it. Recreational players like it. And Kerry actually ran one. I played it at REA. It was like 30K. I think it was 20 plus 10 bounties. And it's definitely more of a fun environment. And people are kind of headhunting, going after people.
Yeah, and you get loose, like, because if you're in, it's 30, and all of a sudden you catch a knockout or two, you're kind of like, all right, like, all of a sudden, if you're in for 30 and if you've got 2 knockouts, you're just like, this is like great, like I'm almost free rolling, or you get the 3 knockouts and you are free rolling. So I don't know. I think it's I think it's cool, and I think that we might see some more of that. What about PLO? What are your thoughts on PLO? Do you play at all? I think I asked you last time, and I don't know if you're.
Yeah, I played a little bit when I was really young, like right out of college. I played cash games live at like Beau Rivage it was in Mississippi. I was playing these big live cash games, PLO. But since then, I haven't played much, and I know there's a lot of money in the game. I don't really like it. I don't enjoy it, and I prefer games that are no limit. So the only games I really play at the moment are No Limit Hold'em, obviously, and No Limit Deuce to 7.
Deuce to 7 sounds like, I know you'll be eyeing that on the WSOP schedule. That seems like you've had a couple deep runs and know your way around that game. What's your thoughts on the main event this year? Do you think records will be broken now with the masks and COVID kind of and the stuff happening? WSOP seems to have a little bit of a I don't want to say fiasco, but they're some of the rules are confusing. Like the dealers don't have to be vaccinated, but all the players do. And you've seen some sort of outcries and outrage from some of the bigger names in poker, voicing their opinion. Where do you stand on this whole WSOP? What do you think is going to happen, and prediction for field sizes as well?
I'm a little unsure, I guess, on how it's going to go. You're definitely going to turn away some players with the required vaccines, but I'm not really even qualified to say if that's the right thing to do, or I have no idea. But I do think there's just so much pent up demand right now for poker because of COVID, because of quarantine, people have been locked down, that people want to play right now. And if you see these field sizes, I don't think it'll be the biggest main event ever, but I also don't think it'll be a fluke where I would say it gets at least like 5,000 players.
I think, it's interesting. The line, I think originally when COVID sort of opened back up, I thought it would definitely be the biggest we would ever see. Like I thought 10,000 is possible even, but now I think the line will be around. I still think though, I mean, look what happened with Florida, right? With the WPT there. I think you got 10th maybe in that one or no, is it this one? You just got deep
like 2,000 runners or something.
2,500, I think, or 2,495, like insane. There was like the waiting list. You didn't get in till day 1B at like the end of the day. It's just insanity. So I have a feeling, people are stimmy money's flying, crypto's flying. People want to play. Like I think it could still hit the record, if not 10,000. But we'll know pretty soon. I think in the first like 2 weeks, week of the series, you'll see if it's just like absolutely insanity or if it's like, if it's cooled off a bit, but yeah.
You have two things kind of opposing each other. You have all this demand, people want to play. There's a lot of money, and then there's this COVID. We're not going to have as many international players, I don't think, this year.
Yeah.
And you probably turn away something like 20 or 30% of people have a ideological issue with the vax thing, so they're not going to come. So you kind of have these. One's good, one's bad, and they're both hitting. I would guess it's near 5,000-6,000, something like that.
Yeah, and do you think it'll be softer then this year?
Yeah, I do think not having the international players is good. Most time if you get guys traveling here from Europe or South America to play poker all summer, they're usually decent players. So not having those guys in there, I mean, who knows? Maybe they come anyway, but I think with the quarantine rules, it's probably a little tricky. They'd have to show up like 2 weeks early or something like that. So who knows? I do think it will be a soft series, and I think people will show up.
Yeah, and honestly, if these like 5Ks and 3Ks or whatever, like they get less people, it's not that big a deal because in a way it's like kind of better in some respects that you get a better chance to win, right? A bracelet, like because when you look at like a 2,000, 800 person, 500 person fields, it's tricky to win bracelets. So it's kind of like, all right, if there's only 600 or 800 or 1,200 instead of 3,000, some of these, it's like, it's not like it's still value. It's still exciting. It's still big money. And yeah, I think it'll be a nice time no matter what. I see. What do you think about gamifying? So I see FearCraps28 is in the chat asking, I think online poker is boring now. Doesn't like the way the chess and throwing emojis and all this stuff at opponents. But in some ways, I feel like that gamifies it. And like, kind of like League, what's the game? League of Legends or, Zelda, these things where it's like there's stuff going on and they're interactive. I sort of like that. I mean, I think there's like a fine line. Where do you stand on like the extracurricular stuff on there? Do you like just like a, plain blank thing, play the game? Or do you kind of like when people can throw tomatoes at you and you can interact a bit? What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, call me boring, but I don't really like getting hit with a banana like in the middle of a hand or like the GG. The first time I played on GG and the river's like super huge and you get it peeled in your face all slow. Like at first I was against it, and I think it's personal preference where I know people that love it and I know people that don't like it. When I say I'm against it, I don't really care. Like maybe I'm slightly against it, but it depends what you're looking for. There's guys who want to get on there and have fun and play a video game, they're going to like it. If there's guys who are pros trying to play a living, playing like 6 or 8 tables, most of them probably don't like it. So it depends what you're trying to get out of the game. And I think with poker, people are very they're just worried about themselves and like what do they want, where they think everybody thinks like them. So what may be boring to you is exciting to somebody else, and you have to be aware of everyone has different perspectives. We're not all thinking the same.
For sure. Yeah, it's also, I mean, a lot of those are customizable, right? You can change the
you can turn off most of the stuff.
So I think it's fine as long as you have the option. What is being as sort of a brand ambassador, and now you are officially, but kind of someone people look up to in the industry, what are some things that you would like to have shown the light for poker players? Like what are things that you would like to do and voice? And when you do go talk, on campuses or university, stuff like that, what's important to you to get across about poker as a game?
I think the idea of not being results oriented is really important, and something that translates in life in a lot of different cases, and through the lens of poker, where you can do the right thing and get the wrong result. And that's a really big thing to wrap your head around. And I've done a little bit of like coaching with some recreational players, and it's amazing how often they get stuck on, deep in the tournament, I had jacks, someone raised, I went all in, the guy had queens. I shouldn't have done that. Like I lost, I got knocked out, and they get stuck, and they dwell on this hand, and that's not what matters. What matters is the spot in the small blind you don't even think about, where you folded 10-3 suited instead of limping, and you didn't even realize that mistake. So it's all about being accountable and self-aware. And those kind of ideas, I think, translate into business, school, all kinds of things, where you don't want to judge yourself on your results, and you need to be more process oriented.
Yeah, I think the results oriented is a big thing in poker. It's also one of those things that's tough. Like I think we were joking about this, or at least for my wife too, back in the day. So they don't really care. The thing is, though, results oriented. It's so the results do matter, though, right? Like if you bust a tournament and your wife doesn't want to, you're like, I had kings and he had 9-10 suited, and it was all in pre-flop. But it is hard, right? Because that is something that it is such a results based game in poker. But I think that's like, if you obviously understand variance and can convey that, I think, again, the lessons are powerful if you can let people understand not to be results oriented. If you can, learn from the game and do a positive thing. So it's a bit unfortunate. Like it is a negative connotation. I think poker in general, it has been a sort of a stigma, and I think that's sort of changing a bit. But it's just now we see, like I think we need a series like the chess one, right, with the Queen's Gambit. Like now these are all these. I think you did a lesson with Alexandra Botez. She's been on my podcast, and they're like superstars now. Chess is just like gone crazy. A mixture of Queen's Gambit, a mixture of Twitch, a mixture of the pandemic. But like they're almost, why are I don't think chess is that much different than poker, right? It's like, granted, it's a lot, like the better player is going to win in chess pretty much all the time, but still, like backgammon, chess, poker, these are very strategy skill games. And it's like, it'd be nice to see poker get a little more sort of, I guess, credit or looked at with a less of a frowning eyes, I would say. But do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Maybe poker has a slightly like seedier environment than chess, but Queen's Gambit, I love that show, and they're drinking, partying. There's a dark side to that as well. And I've always thought, like, I don't enjoy watching like poker, like actual poker on TV too much, but I do enjoy some of the shows. And like I don't know if you were around for like 2 months, 2 million when they had those guys playing online, like Ansky and all that. It was almost like a reality show, and I like that, and I think there is potential of some kind of Queen's Gambit thing just to stir up interest in poker, something like that. I got Cora, my 4-year-old, playing 5 cent, 10 cent on ACR, so she'll be ready if anyone wants to make a documentary about her.
She's already beaten the games.
She's grinding. Yeah, I got her grinding.
Amazing. That's I wonder what the record is really for children that like have learned poker. It's got to be. They start early in chess and backgammon and other games, so I'd say 4 or 5 is probably. Yeah, listen, I said it. Kids are going to be CEOs, man. Our kids are going to be when they're 15, 16. Everything's evolving, and the information is so rampant, and people are learning so quickly things now. So I think anything's possible. What is have you been getting more into chess lately?
I was for a little bit. There was they were going to have this tournament with poker players that aren't that good at chess, because there are poker players like Dan Smith or whatever that are actually good. But they were going to have a tournament with people who were like decent, like Fedor was in there, maybe Negreanu.
I saw that, yeah.
It got canceled last minute, but I was like training. I was half-assing it, but training a little bit for chess. That tournament, I do enjoy it. It's just tough for me. Like if I ever pick up a hobby or something, I am very addictive and obsessive, where I want to spend 10 hours a day, and I want to try to become one of the best. And with chess, that's not really reasonable for me. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's even feasible. So for me to kind of like dabble a little bit is a little tilting. Golf was kind of the same way, where I started playing golf, and I'm like, I want to play every day, all day, and get scratch. But it's tough when you have other things going on in your life. I'm trying to be an elite poker player, a dad. It's hard.
Yeah, I find myself struggling with that too, because even studying or learning a language, I still don't speak. Do you speak Portuguese? I think we talked about that. Don't you? Do you learn Brazil?
Yeah, falo português, sou fluente.
Okay. See, exactly. Like this type of stuff, it's like there's only so much time. So it's like you want to learn a language, you want to learn chess, you want to play golf, you want to be a dad, you want to, you just can't do it all, right? Like it really is. It is. You got to pick and choose your stuff, and exactly, especially if you want to really be good.
If you want to be great at something, I truly believe there's only one thing. Like that can be the only thing. And for me right now, I'm still solely focused on poker, so it's tough to take up another hobby in earnest and really go for it.
What are your thoughts on the NFT crypto space? Do you believe in? Are you you were saying you're old at the poker table. Some of these guys talking about these punks and penguins, and I know there's carpets, Ethereum rocks. I don't know if you saw Mike McDonald his tweet. Did you pick that up about he was offering that his Ethereum rock would be listed in the Louvre? Did you see that action he was giving?
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
which is But what do you think on all this?
So I got involved crypto 2017, I guess, and I got pretty involved with the ICO boom that year, where I was spending a lot of time doing research, trading this stuff, and did all right. And at the end of it, I came out just holding the main coins, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and ignoring everything else. And I understand there's money to be made out there in NFTs, DeFi, all these spaces. There's certainly money to be made, but it is a time commitment. And similar to these other hobbies, where if I'm going to get in there and start trading this stuff or holding it, I'm going to spend a ton of time, and I really value my time. And when I'm home, I don't want to be looking at pictures of rocks in the basement trying to see which is worth more for hours on end, just to make more money. I value time home with my family, and I'm still doing the poker thing, and I don't really have time for it would be the short answer, where I'm not against it, or I know there's money to be made. It's more of a time thing. For sure. Yeah, same. Exactly. Right. It's if you want to be good at Ethereum rocks or punks or whatever, it's either sort of, pop in a fund, or let someone handle it if you believe in it and do it. But you can't research it all. You'll be the fish if you're just in there buying, stuff and just clicking buttons. So there's something to be said about being able to ignore all the noise too. Anything I see on Twitter, I can just ignore and sleep good at night, because I know I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to mess with it. And I don't think there's a world in 5 or 10 years where rocks work and Bitcoin and Ethereum doesn't. I don't think that's the outcome. So.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to FOMO too hard. It's if those do well, that's good. I'm sure Bitcoin and crypto and Ethereum are pumping right along, for sure. Well, let's definitely take some questions, because there are a lot. I saw some good ones, and it is going to be a $109 ticket from Party Poker, a phase ticket. You can get in the WPT main still, which is day 1C on Sunday. And can you tell me real quick before I pump up the international WPT, what is the one you're playing, or what's the WPT Online in Jersey coming up?
Yeah, it's the 3,500 buy-in. Second time they've run this online main tour event in New Jersey. Day one is Sunday, September 19th, 5 p.m. Eastern, and kind of partnership between WPT and Party Poker US. Any eligible player in Jersey can play, so you don't have to live in New Jersey. Kind of a similar structure to the land-based events, where you come in, it's a slow 3-day structure, great value. And it's a real WPT event. The points count for the Player of the Year race. You get your name on the Champions Cup if you win. And I encourage everyone. I encourage people to travel, because I know New Jersey people are going to play anyway. But I'd really like to see some players from the East Coast travel and get a hotel, come up for a couple days. And we've actually added another event, like a 1K on day 2, so maybe a little more worthwhile for traveling players.
So if you are a New Jersey resident but you're somewhere in the world, you can play it. Or no,
other way around. I'm saying if you live somewhere else, you can travel to New Jersey and play. You don't have to live in New Jersey.
You just have to get to New Jersey, wherever, and be able to play. Okay, that makes sense. And what are your thoughts about? Let's just say you pop this online. How prestigious do you think it is, the online versus live? I think I asked you last time, but have you had more thoughts on it now? There's been a lot more sort of series, and what is your thoughts about someone joining you as a WPT champion on the cup as winning online the tournament?
I think with the World Poker Tour, it's pretty legit because I mean you're in I think you're in a 5K or 10K, whatever the rest of the world championship is. Look at that field, like those are the best players in the world. That's a good well structured tournament.
Yeah,
I think that's completely legitimate and different from what the World Series is doing, where the WPT isn't having 10 events with $100, $200 buy-ins and giving away titles. Those are just side events. So I think the WPT online titles still carry a lot of prestige.
for sure. Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. And yeah, again, the phase. So we will give this ticket away. We're going to do the questions. You guys still have time to get in, and you cannot. So they're doing this. They have 50 mega satellite on Sunday, but you have to come in via the phase. So they have like a 22, 44 into a 109. You can buy into the 109, but if you bag a stack, you get into the 530. You can't direct buy the 530, which is nice too, because it kind of brings up a different feeder system. So it's pretty cool way you can get into the 5K via 109 or less. So we're going to give that away and give you guys a chance to ask questions. Let's see. Yeah, we've got some New Jersey fans in the chat right now. Like, I got a lot of love for New Jersey, man. It is a nice place. Wait, tell me you were a lifeguard in Myrtle Beach. Was that because your family was living there? What was the relation to being South Carolina?
I kind of bounced around a lot. My dad was a high school and then college football coach. So I moved around a ton growing up, mostly on the East Coast, and kind of grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania, and was a swimmer and lifeguard. Swimmer and water polo player. I lifeguarded there too. But we had like this pipeline to the beach in Myrtle Beach where a lot of the swim team would lifeguard down there in the summer. So a lot of my older friends were there, and we would go down there in the summers and lifeguard on the beach, party nice. A little bit. It was a good time.
Very cool. All right. Well, let's knock some of these out. And are you still? What's your swim? What's your best stroke? You do that? Was it the butterfly or the freestyle? What were you swimming back?
I was a sprinter, 50 freestyle. Nice. You gotta get your boy Phelps here. We'll have a little showdown. I remember talking to him in the Bahamas once. He was gonna spot me like 5 seconds or something in a 50. Well,
in Vegas this summer maybe, because he's gonna hopefully come out for a few days and play an event or two. So yeah, maybe definitely not racquetball. I hadn't played racquetball with Phil Locke, and I think Phil beat him pretty handily, and I know you beat me with not being a point. I beat Phil, so I don't think anyone's gonna play you in racquetball that I know. I gotta love your action. When's the last time you played racquetball?
Probably 3-4 years. As I've gotten older, it's tough on the joints, like knees, and it's the same kind of thing though, where I want to play all the time and play every day, and going once a month is kind of tilting to me.
What about paddle tennis? Have you played that at all, or pickleball?
I've played it a little bit. That may be the path I'm headed down as an old dad. I might just be playing pickleball with the old heads.
The paddle tennis is a lot of fun, actually. That's a great game, and pickleball as well. It's fun. So maybe we'll play on that. I'm no gambling, but we can hit some balls around. All right, let's dive in here. So, well, here's a question right off the top one, which I know we covered last time. Have you beefed up security or done anything differently since that last incident? And that was for those that don't know, you had a very crazy incident, which is. I mean, it's horrifying. Honestly, what happened? It's very traumatic. Like, tell me about that. Was there closure on that? Did that person who came into the house, they got arrested, or what happened with that?
Yeah, we got closure. He confessed and plea deal, but still got 13 years in prison. So there was some closure where we were going to court, and it was pretty heavy emotional stuff, but has been closed for like a year, maybe 2 years at this point.
13 years in prison? Holy shit.
Yeah, just because of how it happened, and it wasn't just a robbery. And
listen, honestly, I think those type of things should be like 13. When I say it out loud, 13, I guess it's just such a crazy situation, right? Yeah, it's like people. I mean, I don't know how you weigh it. Life, 13, 1 year, 10 years, but like it's heavy stuff, man. You can't go robbing people, breaking in, risking kids' lives, guns and stuff, right? I mean, it's just as bad as it gets. So, but has that changed your? I mean, have you? I guess it's one of those things like you don't really think about on a daily basis, right? Just like without it happening. Now that it happened, you know that like. how do you sort of approach that? Like, are you more conscious of stuff? Are you more skeptical? Like, what type of things has changed mentally for you in that sense? Because
Yeah,
pretty heavy.
it's scary. And I mean, the first thing I did was kind of just I used to like I'm not delusional, and I don't think I'm like a superstar or anything, but I would like to update fans on like I'm going to play an event somewhere. That was the first thing where like I don't want to put on the internet that I'm not going to be home for these dates. So that kind of was something right away. I'm like, I probably shouldn't be doing that if people are going to come try to rob me. And obviously security now we have alarms, cameras, guns. It's like Fort Knox now, but something that you kind of don't think about until it happens, and just being more careful about stuff. Also, like, I don't know if you ever Googled yourself and tried to get your address or something. It's amazing how much information is out there just on the internet, where when this guy confessed that he said he just Googled my address and then drove to my house.
And I don't want to dwell on this, and I know it's not a fun topic, but like, was that so? Did you know the person, or they knew you, or I forget? Was there any relation at all, or did they just?
I didn't know him at all. He was like a 1-2 low limit regular in Atlantic City, and kind of knew who I was and knew I had success, and lived in Philly and had me targeted for some reason.
Wow. Yeah, I personally, I mean, well, it's good. It sounds like you got everything. Yeah, Fort Knox is a nice ring to it. That's good. But that's all. I've always kind of just in general I think with gambling and playing, like I think living in a house too, it does open up, like you just got to be extra careful, right? Because it's like if you're in a building, a complex security, it's like kind of helps a lot. But yeah, man, everyone be careful out there and realize, I think that's like one of the things I actually, whether it's identity theft, VPNs and stuff, I really recommend security in general, like whether it's your personal or self security, or your computer, your private information, because it's getting weird, right? Like it's just like nowadays, like with crypto in particular, I've heard so many horror stories of people getting their crypto stolen. Just even like a simple fake Telegram message like someone sent, and then they send to people, or if I log on Skype, which I rarely use, I'll have like 4 imposters, like someone's imposting Alex Foxen, and they like people are messaging me like, oh, like this, and they have all these scams and all this shit. So just be careful out there. There's a lot of like low level crime and people doing unethical stuff. So
poker players are definitely we're pretty privy to scams these days, where like you really got to be slick to pull one over on a poker player, just because we're so used to dealing with people scamming online and technology, and guy coming to your house with a gun's a whole different story. But still, be careful out there. There's a lot of crazy people that want to do you harm. Anytime you have something and they don't, they'll come and try to take it.
For sure. All right. Well, that was I know we covered this last time. Anyway, there's a first question here, and people do, I think, remember and know, and glad to hear that everything worked out and it's moving forward. But definitely crazy stuff. Favorite hand to play, also a hand that you hate but always end up playing it. So I mean, I actually like, this has been like an evolved version of everyone's like obviously aces and kings, or there's a fun hand, but what's a hand you get in a tournament and you're just like, you know what, like shit, I gotta open it. Is it sevens, ace jack? Like where is it? Where you're just like, it's going to be a tricky board, tricky situation. What are some of the more difficult hands that you just think are harder to play, and that you just always play?
Probably like ace 10 off, maybe something like that. Ace 10 off, ace jack off, those hands that are in the kind of bottom of your 3-bet calling range. You're mixing, you're not hitting a lot of boards. Ones like that are probably least favorite to play. Most fun to play, probably like suited connectors from the big blind, like lows, like 3-4 suited or something. I enjoy those spots.
Nice. Harder to win online or live?
Online for sure these days, especially if you're playing higher stakes. You need to be a lot better to win online than live.
What's it like to be a Party Poker sponsored pro? Give me a little bit of a feeling, like versus you signing that deal, being an ambassador versus winning, let's say, not a WPT, but like a side event. Like where's the feelings for being an ambassador? How does that stack up in your career?
It's cool. I mean, it's only been a day, but it was definitely interesting at Poker Masters yesterday. People were saying congrats. I'm like, oh, like, for the deal. And that's an interesting feeling. And that you're a representative of a company and building the brand, promoting events. People ask me about events. It's definitely a different feeling. And I think it's cool.
Very cool. What about buying? Here's a question about for yourself or substantial winnings. When you hit that first major, like is the life-changing one, I guess, or the one that really stood out was at that first WPT for was it 800K or something, or no? What was the first one? Was that your like big kind of breakthrough score?
That's a tricky question because like obviously from a money perspective, that's a huge score. Like I was doing well already at that point, so I don't know if that changes my life. Like I would think back more to like when I had $500 to my name in college and I won 10,000 or something like that. That was more like, wow, I got money in my bank account. Like buy the whole dorm tacos. Like we're going shopping. Like that. Those were kind of the scores that were more like exciting, and I would like go out and spend the money.
Yeah, I think I remember winning like $4 or $5 grand and buying 2 plasma TVs. It was back in the day at college, and it was exactly like that was those are the ones that really like you felt like you were doing it. And it's funny that too now because like if you hit a score, do something, maybe you don't even buy anything.
Yeah, it's so boring now. You like invest in it or buy crypto.
Yeah, but back then, like it was this total negligence on bankroll management too, just like spending and going out and enjoying. But yeah, those are some of the most fun times. Tell us, remind us again what got you into poker for the first time.
I used to play cards with my grandmother. Not so much Hold'em or poker, but more like bridge, spades, like showdown. We played silly games when I was really young, and that kind of evolved into poker when Moneymaker won, and I was like 16, 17 years old. I started playing a little bit online, and then we'd play high school in a mix, I guess. We would play like Guts and AC Doocy and some Hold'em, and sometimes we'd have tournaments, and that kind of snowballed where I was playing college, playing more online, and started to get serious when I was winning good money online in college.
Very nice. We got a question about bubble situation, so let's just tweak this a bit. But 25K tournament, let's take the one you just chopped up for 550. So you're in a 25K. It's the bubble. The question is, would you shove kings in response to a raise from early position? One person left before the prize play. So this question is depends a lot. Are you covering them? Are they covering you? Do you have 10 blinds? Do you have 100 blinds? But give me sort of a way to approach like on this. And do you approach a 25K money bubble the same as a 3,500? Or like Maine, is it the exact same to you? Or do you still like say, all right, you know what, like maybe I'll be a little tighter or a little less risky or deviate a little more based on the fact that it's maybe a 50 or 60K min cash versus like a 6? Or is it just like, no, this is what I do with this spot, this hand? If you just replicate 2 scenarios, or is it the same, or do you have taken into consideration the amount of money a bit and adjust?
I definitely don't think about the money difference, but I will take an effect who is the player the raise is coming from. And generally in the bigger events, the 25,000s, these players are much better at abusing the bubble. So like a chip leader in a 25K might be opening any 2 cards or shoving in a situation where in a 3,500, chip leader at the table might not be aware and might be playing more normally. So you do have to adjust your range to what your opponents are doing. And I would say that would be the difference between 25K, 3,500. Definitely still shoving kings on the bubble. In general, you can get away with reshoving as long as you're all in and you have some fold equity. Shoving these types of hands in the bubble is still okay. Where you need to be careful is when someone's putting you all in and you're calling off. Those are the spots where you want to be tighter. Or if Jeff Gross 4 bets in a 25K, then I'd fold.
I did have ace king that hand.
Got me, man.
I did. Well, I guess. I mean, probably would have hit the ace. I think we both cashed her. I don't remember anyway. That was a long time ago. Favorite poker hand? What's your favorite suited? What's the one you just see it and you're like, I'm playing. I don't care. This is an open for me. I love it.
Black kings.
Black kings. No, but like that's what I'm saying. One with a fun hand, not a bladed hand, not tier 1. Like give me like suited connector, like 6-7 suited, Jack 9 suited, 3-4. What's your one you just like to play?
I guess I like 10-8. If I had to pick one, 10-8 suited. Give me 10-8 of spades or something.
And okay, then That's a good hand. Have you visited Brazil? I think we know the answer. You've done that. You actually were on the team, the GPL, the Brazilian team, and I don't remember if that was the reason, or if you had some friends in Brazil and you decided you wanted to learn Portuguese, right?
Yeah, actually, way back in the day in college, I won a satellite to go play an event in Rio. I was 19 or something. I was really young. I think they only ran it once. It was a Poker Stars thing. Went down there, played the event, met a girl, ended up dating her, going back, learned a little Portuguese then, and went back to play a Brazilian poker event. And I've been back. I think I've been 3 times now. But I love Brazil. I love the people. Love the energy down there. So I'm a big fan of Brazil.
Yeah, no, it's a great country for sure. Do you do sports? And remind us, other than racquetball, what's your sort of sporting background?
I did swimming and water polo in high school and in college. Played 2 years of each in college. I think when I got really into poker, things were butting heads. Like I was traveling to play tournaments. I was in Vegas, missing practice. Would say I was a strong player in high school, All-American, All-State. Not good enough to compete like D1 college level in swimming and water polo.
Nice. Hardest victory and why? Which tournament, major one that you've won? It could be WPTs or others. What was the most like grueling, difficult, maybe a big comeback or just a super tough opponent and the game or long? How long were those? Run through those 4 wins for me. How long did those take? 30 minutes, 2 hours, 10 hours? What was the toughest and how long were those WPT wins? Heads up.
I think just like psychologically, the first one was the toughest to win. I also was playing Kane Callis, heads up, who's a strong player, has played high stakes. At the time, pretty top-heavy payouts. We're no deal. We're playing first is $850, second was $500. So we're playing a heads-up match for $350 against a good player. That was tough. The actual match itself, I don't think was super long, maybe 30, 40 hands. But psychologically, that was tough. And then probably, if we're talking long matches, grueling heads-up match was the back-to-back. The second one, I got kind of a wild recreational player heads up who had a huge chip lead and had to play like a crazy 4-hour heads-up match where he was playing bananas and was able to kind of grind him out and win that.
Was he tilted or when he lost, or was he kind of like just so happy he got second, or was he like since he had a lead and he could taste the title, like what was the vibe when it was over?
He was a very emotional player and he screwed himself. He did a little premature celebration when he got all in. I think he flopped 2 pair. He stood up and fist pumped, and he got counterfeited on the river. So sometimes you got to live and learn.
Wow, that's tough. That's a tough way to go. Can you draw a constant from your WPT wins? Chris Robinson asked, is there anything that sort of stands out? Was it when you look back at those wins, was anything different than the others? Maybe you were there from the very first hand. Was your focus better than others? Anything that you kind of see resembling or deep runs? You have 13 final tables for those that don't know the record as well. What kind of when you get there and it goes well, what's sort of like consistently something that you're doing or that you notice?
I think like being patient in those types of fields, and especially deep when there's like 4 or 5 tables left, like assessing it from like a macro perspective, like who's left in the tournament, how deep are we, what do I need to be doing? And oftentimes in these tournaments, there are players that if you can get to their table and they have chips, you're going to double up if you're there long enough, or you're going to get it in very good at least. So kind of like looking for those spots, how many of those are around? Am I in one of those spots now? Do I have a tough table now, but the other table is really soft? Do I wait for it to break? Kind of like assessing the general situation of the tournament in addition to like the micro stuff. I have this hand in this spot and this way I did,
For sure. And I got to ask you about a couple guys that, again, take your time. Don't say it. I just think before you speak, but the other players that have three titles. So like I had Eric Afriat on. He's won, I believe, 3 now. Is that right? Or 2 or 3 or maybe 2, and he's got a second or something. Like he's a guy that it's just kind of crazy because he's not from like the young generation. I wouldn't put him in like the Pio Solver type player. And there's also, I think, Anthony has won 3. Is that right? how many guys won 3? Chino Reem, maybe? Is there like 3 or 4 guys that have won 3?
I think Gus maybe has won 3. I don't think he plays many anymore. And Brian Altman recently won his 3rd.
Oh, really? He did. Yeah, he's been pretty tough, and it seems like he's just kind of deep and always in the mix on those. So give me a little bit of thoughts on those. Like it's impressive to have these wins and these players also getting multiple ones and always seem to have chips in these events. What's your thoughts on some of their games and do you know do you play? I'm sure you play with them a lot, right? You probably play Elias guys.
I think most of those guys play definitely not a solver game, a game that is not fundamentally correct, but they are doing things well that work in those events. And that's kind of the key to success, where they may not even know it, but they're exploitively adjusting, and it's working. So I think all those guys, I would say Brian is a more fundamentally solid, better player than some of those other guys. But that I would say it's a lot of kind of exploitative, non-solver play.
And if you were giving advice to someone wants to go play with WPT coming up, what would be your advice for them? To maybe they're a little nervous, maybe they satellited in, maybe they never played live. Like, how would you WSOP is different, a little bit the structures, the chips, and all that. So you get in the format of the World Poker Tour. What would be your advice to someone hopping in and giving it a go to just have a good time and how to survive a bit? Well, what's like a tip you could give them?
I mean, I'd have to take one. I'd give them the Amir Vahidi. You got to be willing to die. Like a lot of these guys that don't play many, or they get in on a satellite, when it gets deep and they're in day 3, day 4, they really don't want to bust. And that's detrimental to their play. And when you play like that deep in a tournament, you're going to get 12th a lot. You're going to get 15th. You're going to get 8th, where you're not going to be in a good spot to win the tournament. So at least give yourself a chance. And even though you're deep in the tournament, the money's getting big, you still can't be afraid, and you got to take your spots.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Adrian Mateos was on yesterday, and this is one of the things he was saying as well, that deep, it's like you got to be willing to open 3-bet, go for stuff. You can't just, it's like surviving is fine, but it's like that's not how you win tournaments. It's just like you don't open the queen 9 suited, you don't open the pocket 6s or 5s in a spot, or you got to be willing to go for it, because you just don't. Yeah, that
stuff adds up, all those little tight mistakes, and then you're not going to get premium hands as much as you think you are. Like, I'll wait for a better spot. You're not going to get Jackson, Ace, King that many times in 30, 40 hands. It's tough.
Right. Or you do, and then you do get in a flip, and the fact that you haven't been able to accumulate chips, now you lose the flip, or
you double to 16 blinds and you're still short.
Right. Exactly. So it's like that's I think that's a huge part of tournament poker, which is not necessarily easily concept to grasp about that you want to go for those top 3s, and the way to do that is by being a bit aggressive. And I think a lot of times too, people see plays are like, wow, that was spewy, or man, I can't believe that guy went out. But then it's like you look at his head and mob, you realize that, well, they're just winning a lot, and they're just going to go out like in certain spots. So fair enough.
There is some kind of like I don't know what it would be called, confirmation bias or something, where like you see the loose spewy plays, but you don't see the tight folds, like which are also bad. You don't see the hands that go into the muck, so you're not able to. It's not in your face, like, oh, look at that mistake, like a tight fold would be.
Right. Exactly. Sarah asked, during the early 2010s, there was a group of poker players who quickly jumped forward in strategy. They had access to computer-driven solvers. Was PO first available to a secret set of players? Are you aware of any of this? Do you know of, like, early on, like, do you think there was a group of people that sort of had access, or were the first comers in sort of this type of software and analysis had others? Are you aware of anything like this?
I wouldn't call it secret. I would say there are players just who were more in touch with the technology and like in that space where they were good with computers, because there's definitely like a learning curve to working with PO Solver, and you have to know the right inputs. And back then there were definitely less people that knew it and knew how to work it. So I would say not secret, but just a smaller group of players than there is now.
For sure. And now, I mean, it's becoming a lot more available where there's people that can analyze or do the work, you get the answers and solutions, because the actual act of inputting PO Solver hands and you have to have the right computers and it could take a long time.
And all that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's moving along. Who's harder reading tells on women than on men, and who do you prefer to play against? I mean, it's such a lopsided women and men in poker anyway. But
Yeah.
is there anything on this you could say?
I don't think I would say anything on that, but I would just say usually better players, professionals, men or women, are tougher to read than amateur players, and generally the less someone plays, the more physical tells they're going to give off.
For sure. Question about: do you believe you can obtain another WPT title? I think that's a rhetorical question, but how's your belief system in your WPT abilities for titles?
I do believe I'm going to keep playing. I'm going to keep competing, and hopefully some of these live events come back, and get to play 5 Diamond in December. I don't know if you saw recently, Maryland's canceled, Jacksonville's canceled. I was going to play those, but it's something that I play all these events every year, and if I get 1 or 2 good opportunities where I'm at the final table, final couple 2 tables, I'm happy with that. And then over time, I'll convert some of those into wins.
And what you said, New Orleans, or what was the one canceled? There was
Jacksonville, and then they had one in Maryland that I think they're both postponed, but
they're
supposed to be this month.
For sure. So let's see. We'll do a couple more and some Portuguese. There's that Portuguese. Let's see. Qual você mais gosta? What's he saying about?
Who do you like to play with the most? Or what game? What game do you like to play the most?
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite game, basically?
Is it?
I would say No Limit Deuce to 7 is the one I enjoy the most.
Excuse me. How many hours do you spend studying poker a week? Do you block off, like even here when you're going to play, like this week when you play the Masters? It's pretty intensive, right? You basically go play. You got home 2 or 3 a.m. Sleep, wake up, come do a little pod, and then you go. I mean, are you actually like plugging? Do you like review stuff? Do you look at opening ranges and calling stuff, or are you, when you're here, you're just in game mode playing, no studying?
Mostly game mode. If I have some hands that I'm not sure about during the day, I'll check them. Like I'll either ask somebody to run it or look for myself to see what a computer would do in the situation. But definitely don't have like set study hours or anything like that, and not double digit hours a week where I'm studying. Definitely less than 10, I'd say.
And what about for cash games now? I think I saw you were playing one in Houston, or you did a special thing. Do you play some cash games still? Do you like that? Or do you
I mean, growing up, I played a ton, like 10, 25, 25, 50, probably the last 10 years. And then it's honestly gotten pretty tough for me to get into games unless it's like a special TV game or something where I'm not invited to a lot of games, and there's not many public games in casinos big enough that I would want to play, like bigger than 10, 20 or 25, 50.
Mm-hmm. So, what about your biggest winning and losing session? What's buy-ins wise or money, whatever, and cash? What's like one of your bigger winning and losing sessions?
I would guess around between 100 and 200,000, probably both win and loss. I got that WPT game. I lost a 400 something K pot to Bill Perkins, and that was the biggest pot I'd ever lost. I remember that.
I didn't see that hand. That's funny. My biggest pot I've ever won and lost is against Bill. So he knows how to. He makes them big. What was it? Did he get you, or did you get there? What was the hand?
I mean, he was being Bill, and he was giving action, and the game was big. I think we were playing 2-4-8 or something, and I 3-bet somebody. He cold called. The other guy called. I think there's 20K in the middle. I had queens. It was like 10-7-3 with a flush draw. I had queens, no flush blocker. I bet maybe 12K, and he made it 40. I called. Turn was like a low offsuit card, and he bet like 140, or he bet something huge. And I kind of had to make a decision on the turn. Do I put in the rest or do I fold? Did not fold, and he had a set of sevens, so I was pretty much dead.
Damn. All right. Yeah. Wild Bill. He plays big pots, so that's that's not a bad guy to lose to.
He still calls me a nit, but I did get it in with 2 outs against him.
All right. Oh, there you go. That's all right. It's it'll be more opportunities. What's your favorite live event and your favorite online events?
I really enjoyed 5 Diamond Bellagio. I don't know if it's because it's coming up, but I like playing the good structure, 10K, a lot of runners. Bellagio is pretty good to play at. I've always liked that event. Also, the TOC, I would say, the Tournament of Champions, the World Poker Tour one, that's a fun event. I hope they bring that back when the live events come back.
For sure. Let's see. Any Brazilians? There's a question specifically about Brazilians, but do you know, are there any Brazilians out there that you know or you battle with a lot that you think are pretty tough, like that you've played with in the last year or so?
Yeah, I've played with some on GG that I think are pretty good. And one of it's tough with the names. Pablo something that is pretty good, and there's Bruno Volkman or something. I think those guys play pretty well, just from playing on GG and the high roller stuff with them.
There's a question here with you can have dinner with Doug Polk or breakfast with Cindy Crawford. What's your what are you going with there? Those are two big names.
Current Cindy Crawford or like peak Cindy Crawford?
I didn't get that. That's all I can give you is that question. You gotta just maybe take it with
she's probably like 60 or 70 now, right? I think
her daughter. I believe her name's Kaya. I've seen her a few times in Cabo when at this place where we stay at. Like she's identical. Like literally, she looks like Cindy Crawford. Like she's like a mini version of Cindy Crawford. She's probably like 21 now. I think she was like 16, 17 last time I saw her. But let's take Cindy in her prime. Yeah, Doug in his prime. Doug's not really semi-retired, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I like Doug, but I think I'd have breakfast with peak Cindy Crawford.
Okay, that's fair. All right, well, let me load this up. We're gonna do this the right way. We're gonna give away a 109 ticket. I'm gonna let you tell me when, but I'm gonna take a couple more questions while I load this up. And also, you guys, this is still available as well. The week is still going, and if you want to win, you're still eligible for that. So that's a 109 ticket on the pin. We're gonna copy this. A nice little retweet giveaway tool here. So it screens bots. Put it in. Go like that. And actually, let me ask you one more thing. My dad had a couple questions, so I do like to get my dad's questions.
Oh, your dad's in there. Okay.
Yeah, he sent me an email with a few. Okay, like what positive things, if any, have come out of the pandemic and lockdown for you in your personal life and poker game in the last? I guess we kind of talked about this, but a little different. Like, what would you say has sort of been a very positive of this unfortunate sort of situation?
Poker wise, I was definitely forced to work harder and study and work on my game to compete in the high stakes online world, where maybe I had gotten a little complacent just playing live, where you kind of, especially in mid stakes, I say mid stakes, like the WPTs, 3Ks, 5Ks, whatever, you can get away with not being as polished or sound. But when you're playing the best players in the world online, you can't really get away with that. So that was a big thing, like being able to work on my game and get better. And then personally, like I said, being home 9 months with my 3 or 4-year-old daughter was amazing.
Very cool. Let's see, one more, and then we're gonna roll it. He also he wants to know about shows on Netflix and Prime. What are some of the good movies you discovered the last year? Have you watched more series? I guess Queen's Gambit came through. Is there any stuff you've kind of picked up? Anything out there that you like?
Man, I struggle getting into new shows. I don't know if I have a thing, but sometimes I just get stuck on the menu, or I'll start a show and I'll turn it off in like 2 minutes. But one show I would recommend, The Expanse. I love sci-fi, fantasy kind of stuff. So that's a kind of like a space opera. The Expanse on Prime would be my one show I'm really into.
Expanse. I've not heard of that. Sci-fi?
Yeah, kind of below a lot of people's radars, but one of the best shows on TV, I'd say.
Interesting. All right, I'm gonna have to check that out. All right, I'm gonna download this. I'm gonna let you tell me when to draw here in a second. And what's the structure on that 3,500, the Jersey one? It's a 3-day event, or it's like a full structure, like
yeah, 3-day great event. Starting Sunday, September 19th, 5 p.m. You can actually register and deposit from anywhere in the U.S. via PayPal or Pay with My Bank. They have this other thing, and you can get in. Players can win their way into the event for $5, so you can qualify. Kind of like these seats are given away, where guys can get in for cheap, and you get a shot to be a WPT champion.
That's awesome. Yeah, I did take this 109 face to the 5:30 to the 5K now, day 2 on Sunday. As Monday, there's still day 1C left for the worldwide one. It's a tough field though, man. Like you said, if you can win one of these online, like it's just, I was looking who's in so far and I'm like, man, I don't know. This one doesn't look like a clear path for sure. Yeah. This isn't Choctaw. No. That's for sure online. That's not the case. But all right, why don't give me a thing here. You tell me when, and I'm going to choose it. And this is a 109 phase going to be coming to somebody on party.
All right, now
there we go. Right there, we're going to have one winner. 109 ticket coming through. It is. I think he was one of the first ones. This guy I recognize. He might even have won one. Some people win multiple, which is like. It's hard, right? But hey, if you won multiple WPTs, you can win multiple tickets. So this guy, he's eligible. He does it. We're going to – Alexei Sviridov is going to win another ticket. I am going to take a little break. I'm going to come back for a stream. I'm going to be playing online later. And then also I have a podcast tomorrow. You know Charles Hook? You know Hook at all?
Yeah, I know Charlie.
Yeah, so he's on he is on my podcast. I've known him forever and got him kind of actually knows he's played a bunch with Bill. We've got him in the Houston game and he actually moved from Jersey to Houston and plays some nosebleed and just did a 14-day fast where he had a bet where he couldn't eat for 14 days and did that. So pretty crazy. Tony G had done one and then I did another one, but yeah, I don't know. I've heard 3 to 5 days are a lot of benefit on cancer and like good for you, but 14 sounds just like I don't know.
I can't make it 14 hours. That stuff's not for me, man.
I don't think I have enough. Yeah, I don't think I have enough meat on me to go for that. Like I think if you're heavy, it's one thing, but if you're sort of like skinny-ish or not like super. It's just I don't know if it's actually sustainable to do that, but we'll be talking about that. Cool. So Darren, I appreciate it. Good luck in the Poker Masters. Good luck at the WSOP. Let's play a little paddle in the summer and hopefully link up. But yeah, this was a treat. Congrats on your sponsorship, and as well, guys, if you want to book him or check it out, you can see above. Felt, which is Tom Wheaton with Faded Spade. He has created this. It's sort of an agency, and if you're interested in booking Darren or learning more, you can go there, and it's a nice website. So it looks cool, and yeah, man, congrats on the sponsorship.
Sounds good, Jeff. Good luck in your WPT today, and see you out in Vegas.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Take care.
All right, guys. That was Darren Elias, number 146. We got 147, Charles Hook tomorrow. Again, high-stakes cash players. Plays some of the biggest stakes in the world. One of my very close friends for over a decade. And, yeah, we're going to have a good time talking. He just completed a wager, 2 weeks, no food. Pretty crazy as well. We'll cover that as well as some other interesting topics. And I appreciate you guys. I am going to be back on in a bit. I don't know. Take a little break, eat a little food, go play live, and then fire some high stakes. So thank you. Cheers. Thanks for watching.